Hi guys, I'm Claire from the Kitschy Kitchen, and today I'm here with Rachel Talbott.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Of course. So I was on Rachel's channel and we were making amazing gingerbread soap.
It was really fun.
It was so much fun. And when we were talking about doing a collaboration, she mentioned the gingerbread soap, and I thought that was such a great idea. And one of the soaps she did was actually a Madeleine.
Yep.
Which I thought that's so cute. So I thought, why don't we just actually make those?
Yes, and I've actually never made them, so I'm really excited to figure this out. Are they difficult?
See, they have a reputation for being really intimidating, and it's because it requires one technique called folding.
Okay.
And so that's why I think people think like, oh, I can't just dump and stir it. It's gonna be a little complicated, but as long as you get your folding down, it is super simple. I love these cookies. They take under 10 minutes to bake.
Oh, easy.
Yeah, and they're so delicious. They're so dreamy. And the other thing I feel, the reason why people are intimidated by them is because there's this stress that they just don't come out of the pan. But then if you just grease it aggressively, which is what I do, you're totally fine.
Yeah, just grease it.
Just grease it a lot, and then you're good. Yeah, exactly.
Oh, I'm excited. I'm so excited.
I know. And so, inspired by the gingerbread theme, I'm also going to be glazing these in a molasses glaze.
Yummy.
It's going to be really good. So to make these Madeleines is a very basic recipe just with some spices added. So I have 1 cup plus 1 tablespoon of all-purpose flour. I'm going to do a big fat pinch of salt. For my spices, I have a teaspoon of cinnamon, a teaspoon of ginger, 1/8 of a teaspoon of cloves, and 1/8 of a teaspoon of nutmeg. You can add a little more or a little less depending on how spicy you want your Madeleines to be. Obviously vanilla extract, a teaspoon of baking powder. This is gonna give our Madeleines a really nice lightness and lift. 2 eggs at room temperature. That's gonna be really important. You always want your eggs to be room temp because you get the most out of them that way. You're gonna get the most protein, the most structure. It's gonna emulsify really nicely. And then I have 2/3 a cup of white sugar. And then I have basically 1 stick of butter, so 4 ounces plus 1 tablespoon, and I've browned the butter.
Okay.
So I'm a kind of a brown butter obsessee.
Oh, it's amazing. Oh, I love it.
It's one of those things that if you haven't tried it, it's the best thing in the world.
It has a very specific flavor that changes the dynamic of it. It's so good.
100%. Basically, to make brown butter, which I did cover in another video, so you can check that out, you basically cook the butter a little longer until the milk solids caramelize. So you end up getting this really beautiful kind of hazelnutty flavor. In French, it's actually called noisette, which means hazelnut, so makes sense, and it just adds so much flavor. So to make the Madeleines, it's actually pretty simple. I'm gonna sift all my dry ingredients, cream together the eggs and sugar, and then basically put it all together, ending with the butter. So,
perfect.
Yeah, 3 steps.
Sounds good.
So first, I'm gonna get my dry ingredients sifted together, and I'm starting with the flour. It's really important to mix everything together really well because you do not want to get a pocket of one spice.
Right, okay, that makes sense. It smells so good.
Oh, I know, already, the spices. It's so crazy how spices just immediately like liven up a kitchen. By sifting it, it makes everything really nice and light and fluffy. And these are really delicious little butter cookies, so we don't want to weigh any of it down. I'm gonna have you help me with the eggs and sugar.
Perfect.
So please dump that into my mixer.
Alrighty.
Okay, so we finished our egg and sugar mixture, and you can see it looks so different.
Yeah, it really does.
And it's really pale and fluffy, and basically what we've done is we've whipped a ton of air into the eggs, and we don't want to lose that air. So we're now gonna fold our dry ingredients and our browned butter into it, but we're gonna add just a little bit at a time.
Okay.
So we now have our bowl to fold everything, and folding's pretty basic. All you need to do is you sprinkle about 1/4 of your ingredients at a time onto our batter. And then we take our spatula and we're gonna be scooping it around the edges, folding it up over the bottom. And this is how you integrate ingredients, but without bringing any of the weight into it. It's a great way of keeping it light and fluffy. Do you wanna give it a try?
Sure, I'd love to do it. Okay, so I'm just gonna go around the edges and in. Okay.
Looking good.
So what would happen if you were to just kind of whisk it all together super quick?
Yeah, I mean, if you were to whisk it together, it would just mess with the texture. So I'm not gonna say don't do it, because I get it. You know, it's like if this feels a little time consuming, I understand. But it does.
You want it to be right.
You want it to be right. If you're gonna bother making Madeleines, make a Madeleine.
Do it the right way.
Exactly. And they take only like 10 minutes to bake. You can make them the batter ahead of time. So I think these are great cookies. They're not as complicated as I think everyone makes them out to be. That looks awesome. So now that we've finished adding all of our dry ingredients, now we add the butter.
Okay.
So we're just gonna pour a little bit at a time on top.
Okay.
All right, keep folding, lady.
Got it.
Very nice. And it's the exact same thing. You just keep folding. So this is folded. So now we're gonna pop this in the fridge for at least an hour, but you can put it in overnight as well, which is great. So you can make these ahead of time really easily. So we're gonna let this set, and then when we come back, we're gonna bake these on.
Sounds good.
So our Madeleine dough is, or I guess batter, whatever it is out of the fridge, and you can see it's nice and chilled. Yeah. And so we're now gonna put them into the little Madeleine pans.
Oh, I'm so excited.
I know, these are so cute.
Yeah, they really are.
I love them. And so here's the funny thing about Madeleines is you do not wanna add too much batter, even though it's really, you just wanna load it up because it's gonna be gorgeous, but you really have to be a little more conservative about that. And then additionally, you do not press the dough into it. It kind of goes against what you would think about putting cookie dough into a mold. You think, we want to smush it in there and so it gets in all the nooks and crannies. This dough will do its thing, it will figure out in the oven, but you do not want to do that in this case.
They remind me of like little seashells almost.
They do, they look like little scallop shells. They're
like
so
the
cute.
Seashells that the little
like little Ariel, her bra. Totally.
Okay, cool.
I think I need much larger Madeleines.
Yeah, that's true. That wouldn't cover very much.
Yeah, those are. So I have 2 spoons. And I've greased them, and the reason why I've greased them is because you'll see it makes it a lot easier. Okay. Then you have to get your fingers in there and make it messy. So I'm gonna take 1 big scoop, and look at how different the dough is.
Wow, that's so interesting.
It's become like batter.
Yeah.
So remember how it was all drippy? Now it's like actually like that. And so we're going to actually kind of make, technically it's a cannelé. It's a type of shape. I'm using the other spoon to basically drop the dough down. And that's it.
Wow.
I know that looks really...
So you just drop it and it kind of creates its own little...
It will do its thing. Let it be.
Got
I know, it doesn't look... I know that it goes against...
Let it be.
Exactly.
Well, there you go.
Here, do you want to give it a
I would never think that you could just... That it would kind of create its own...
No, totally. Everything in my body wants to just smash it down, but do not do that. Once again, this is really about texture. Perfect. You got it. There you go. And doing the spoons as well kind of helps you make sure that you don't compress it. So our little Madeleines are done.
I'm so excited.
So they're ready to bake. So the oven is preheated to 425, and they're gonna bake for between 9 to 11 minutes. The big thing is you wanna make sure the tops, they have nice little domes, and when you just lightly tap them, they don't sink down. If they do, they need another minute. But you wanna be careful to make sure they don't get too brown on the underside, because they can do that sometimes.
Okay.
All right, so I'm gonna pop these in the oven.
Perfect.
All right, they are out of the oven.
Looking good.
They smell really good.
They smell so good.
And so I'm actually gonna dump these out of the tray before they cool, because if they cool in the tray, they do sometimes want to stick to it a little bit.
Okay.
So there's 2 ways you can do this. I am confident that these will fall out, so I am just gonna go for it. Whoop, whoop. Woo.
Wow, those are so good.
There's a few escapees.
Those look amazing.
I know. And so these also are going to be a little darker than your usual Madeleine because they have so many spices in them.
Right.
So they're going to be a little bit darker than golden brown. But yeah, so I was able to dump those out because I greased that really aggressively. I greased and floured my pan. But if you are a little nervous about it, you can just use a spoon and very lightly kind of tug them out before you do the dump.
Okay, cool.
But yeah, so these look great. And so now we're gonna get started on the glaze. So these are still kind of a little warm, but they're gonna cool while we mix everything together. So the glaze could not be easier. You can do any glaze you want. It's the same basic idea. I'm making a molasses glaze because molasses is a really important ingredient in making traditional gingerbread.
Oh,
so
awesome.
that'll be a nice way to kind of get it in there.
Cool.
I'm gonna make you make the glaze.
Okay, love it.
So we have about a cup of powdered sugar,
okay,
a tablespoon of molasses, so I can just go right straight into it. And you can use the whisk to help you out a little bit.
Got it, because it's like that term slow as molasses, right?
It's accurate. It's a saying for a reason. That's great.
Okay.
And then about 3 tablespoons of milk.
Got it, milk.
And you can use any milk if you want. I mean, this has so much butter in it, it's kind of, it doesn't really matter at that point, but if you want, you could use almond milk too.
Just gonna whisk that.
And you just whisk it together. Yeah, and so it's going to come together. At first, you won't think like, oh, this is never going to become a glaze, but then just keep doing it, and before you know it, you'll have a really beautiful glaze.
Ooh, it's looking good already. You can kind of start to see it's getting that nice...
Beautiful color. So if your glaze looks a little thick, you can always add more milk. If it looks a little thin, add more powdered sugar. So now we're just going to glaze them.
Ooh, perfect.
Yeah, so the way to glaze it, I mean, now that these are cool enough to touch, is It's just use your hands. It's pretty
You
basic.
just dip it in there.
You
like
just
that,
dip
huh?
it in there.
Ooh, yum.
No, and so you can coat the whole thing if you want. Here's the thing though, is I love being able to see the ridges, so I use my finger and I scrape it off a little bit.
You could also do, would you just do one side ever?
Yeah, oh totally. You can, however you want to glaze it, you do you. Yeah,
I like the one side, that's pretty like
I know, it looks really nice.
I like that.
I just like glaze.
Right, like the more glaze, the merrier, huh?
Exactly. They're done!
Yay, they look so good.
They look so good. Thank you for helping me.
Oh my gosh, thank you for showing me. I love it. It looks amazing.
I feel like this is the perfect thing to go with your soap.
Oh, perfect. Just make sure you eat this.
Yes.
And use the soap on your body. Don't confuse them.
Yes, no. That would be really a disaster.
Yeah, but definitely check that out because we did 3 different types of soap. We did biscotti, Madeleines, and gingerbread men.
So delicious.
Yeah.
All right, well, we have moment of truth. We have to give these a try.
Okay.
All right, I'm grabbing one. You find yours.
I'm so excited.
Easier.
All right, cheers.
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 These would be so perfect with a cup of coffee or hot cocoa. It needs to happen. Well, this was so much fun. I hope that this demystified Madeleines for you a little bit. They're not as intimidating or difficult as people make them out to be.
And they're so good. They're so rewarding.
They are, and they're very, very versatile. So thank you so much for watching, and we're just gonna keep enjoying these cookies.
I want the whole thing.
For more fun ideas and recipes like this one, check out my blog, thekitschykitchen.com.
And be sure to check out my YouTube channel for the video we did together and more fun videos as well.